For these men, respecting women makes a man weak, and to them, relationship is some sort of power game where they have to be dominant, where they have to take the lead to show that, yeah, I'm a man. What they say goes. Bitch, we ain't equal. I'm the dictator, you are the subordinate. I dictate when I want to put dick in you, bitch. Dictate. So it's all about dictatorship. It's all about control, subordinate, belittling women.
My husband just told me he had a stupid ass realization. He said that having his daughter made him realize that girls are more than objects.
In actual fact, these guys, they actually do not believe in mental health. They do not believe in depression. In fact, being vulnerable and showing a weakness are signs that you're not a real man. So the knock-on effect of their message is so dangerous. And the only person profiting from it is them. Hey loves, how are you? I hope you are doing well. So a new documentary dropped on Netflix named Inside the Manosphere. Honestly, the moment I saw this, I knew it was something I was interested in. I had been exposed to the world of the manosphere through a Netflix series actually called Adolescence. And I believe I actually did a video about it. I'll have it up on screen. This video was my first exposure to this whole manosphere world. And to be honest with you, I was shocked that this kind of world existed. So I thought this was an opportunity for me to dive deeper into it and understand more about what it's all about. Anyways, I started watching the documentary and I was shocked, disturbed, frustrated that there are people out there, men out there, who have ideologies like this. Like, I honestly couldn't believe that in 2026, we have people who think like this. And I'll be honest with you, I got halfway, I stopped watching it. I just thought, you know what? I can't deal with this nonsense. And I left it. However, that night in bed, whilst I lay awake, everything I had watched just came to my memory. It literally flooded back into my memory. And I just kept thinking, how on earth did these men get to a point where they're thinking is like this? What went wrong in their upbringing? What went wrong in their homes? And the next morning, I saw my son jumping up and down on the bed, happy, free, without a care in the world. And I sat there thinking, wow, there are people out there who have dangerous ideologies that one day our children will be exposed to, whether we like it or not. Because at the moment, we can control what they consume. We can have controls on the YouTube they watch. We can have age restrictions. However, there will come a point where they go to school, they have mobile phones, they will have access to the internet. And men like this will be on the other end of it. And I summoned the courage to continue watching this. And to be honest with you, I'm glad I did. I didn't intend on doing a video on it when I started watching it. But by the end of it, I felt like, you know what? It's a conversation that needs to be had. I can't shy away from this topic and act like people like this do not exist in this world. And so, in this video, I will be talking about the documentary, talking about the ideologies, focusing on different aspects of it because there's a lot to this manosphere. I'll be analysing the documentary, and more importantly, I will be sharing with you, as a mum of boys, the intentional steps I will be taking in my home to raise my boys in order for them not to fall into the trap of these men. So let's get into it. In the documentary, Theroux interviews 4 extreme content creators with extreme views, and their main message is to redefine what it means to be a man. They want to coach young boys on how to be strong, on how to make money, on how not to have a boss telling them what to do. They say that they want to give young boys, men, the cheat code to winning in life. For these men, respecting women makes a man weak, and to them, relationship is some sort of power game where they have to be dominant, where they have to take the lead to show that, yeah, I'm a man. What they say goes. Part of the message that these men push is that men are born without value and that they have to build that value Women, on the other hand, they say that we are born with value because of our beauty, because of our boobs, because of our private part. So things are really easy for us. However, they have to create value. So they've just boxed up a woman to just beauty and her bits and bobs. Nothing else. No brains, no intelligence. And we'll go deeper into these topics as we proceed in this video. Whilst watching the documentary, I noticed there were common themes across all four influencers. For them, in order for you to be a man, you had to have money, you had to have the physical appearance, and women. These three kept on coming up with all three influencers, and we're going to dive into every single one of them. Let's start with the physical side of things. A big part of what they pushed is that in order for you to be a man, a real man, you had to be strong, you had to be dominant, you had to be well built. And so a lot of them spent their time in the gym in order to get that body. In fact, at some point during the documentary, Louis says to him, okay, what's your assessment of me? And one of them instantly looks at Louis physically and says, your physique isn't saying much. So to them, a man has to look built and be muscular. And to be honest with you, there's nothing wrong with being fit. There's nothing wrong with being healthy and being strong. However, the problem I have with that is that there is more to being a man than the outward, than being muscular on the outside. Women are not just concerned on the outside. The outside, yeah, you go to the gym, great. That's a bonus. But for us, what's important is what's going on in there. Emotional maturity. At no point in this documentary did they talk about the importance of the mind. In actual fact, these guys, they actually do not believe in mental health. They do not believe in depression. In fact, being vulnerable and showing a weakness are signs that you're not a real man, because to them, a man has to be strong 24/7. And we all know that's not true in the world that we live in. It's just not real. And particularly when we're in a world where we're trying to encourage men to speak out more, to open up more, to be more vulnerable. The last thing we need is messages like this, encouraging men to bottle things up, to suppress their emotions. That's very dangerous, because when men internalize their issues, when they do not confront their weaknesses, and when they do not speak up, we know that this can lead to very dangerous situations. In actual fact, statistics show that around 72% of suicides in the UK are men, and male suicide rates are nearly 4 times higher than women. That's alarming. Yet, we have dangerous messages like this on the internet. And what surprised me is that during the documentary, when they were talking to one of their fans, he said something. He said that they do not believe in depression. And he proceeds to inform Louis that he had recently lost his brother to suicide. And this young boy was standing there saying that he doesn't believe in mental health. I was sitting there thinking, are you being for real? Do you know what it means for someone to commit suicide? Something must have been going wrong up there. But they couldn't speak out, because speaking out would make them look weak, according to the Manosphere. And so messages like this are extremely dangerous. What we want is men who are emotionally mature, who are not insecure, not men who will feel threatened by the success of a woman. I mean, recently I covered a video on this channel about Chris, who became insecure about Jess's success. I'll put the video up here. Real men have worked on their minds. Real men can control their emotions. Real men do not feel threatened by other people. Now let's talk about the wealth aspects of it. These men were seen flaunting their cash, flaunting their lifestyles, their cars, and pushing this narrative that in order to be a real man, you had to be wealthy. A 9-to-5 job wasn't going to cut it. No, that's not a real man. A real man has serious cash. In actual fact, at one point, one of the influencers boasted about making £10,000 in 1 hour and a half. They flaunted this lifestyle to young, impressionable boys, and they didn't just stop there. They used that as a means and as a platform to sell to these young boys, saying to these young boys, if you follow my trading tips and invest in these investments, you also can make the money. But the sad part of this is that whether these boys make money, whether they make a return from these investments, it doesn't matter, because these influencers will get a cut. In fact, Louis, the documentarian, he actually invested £500 at the beginning of the documentary, and he said before the end of it, he had lost almost all of it. You can imagine what this will do to a young boy who invests maybe his savings and he doesn't get the return from it. These are high risk investment being sold to young boys who have no financial literacy. So they use their platforms to take advantage of young boys, selling to them false lives that these boys can never attain. Apparently, when Louis looked into these companies that they were asking these young boys to invest in, these companies had terrible reviews, terrible ratings. And it's highly likely that these young boys will not dig deeper and research into these companies before investing their money. So imagine this, a young boy who looks up to these influencers, who wants a flashy life like them, invests money into these high risk investment, he makes a loss, that hits him, it could result in depression. However, remember, they are taught not to be depressed. Being depressed is not manly, so he suppresses it and suppresses it. At some point, he's going to take out that anger on something or on someone. So the knock-on effect of their message is so dangerous. And the only person profiting from it is them. Imagine these men pushing this narrative that a man is meant to take care of a woman. He should be the sole provider. That way he will be seen to be dominant. He will be seen to have control. But let's be real. In the world that we live in, where it's difficult for even one person to cover the bill, and really and truly in this day and age, you need two people working or doing something to bring income in. And then you're telling young guys that no, a real man will be the sole provider. Like, what world are we living in? What year are these guys in? And these are things that can get into a man's mind, and he will start doubting himself and questioning whether he's a real man. And what really surprised me was that at one point during the documentary, one of them actually says that, yeah, I'm a sales guy. At the end of the day, I'm just selling. So to them, it's just about making more and more money. They do not care the impact it has on these young boys. Inside this manosphere space, men are being taught directly and indirectly that they are superior, that women are beneath them and that women exist to serve them. And we see this play out in real time right at the beginning of the documentary when Louis is with one of the influencers and he introduces the lady in his living room as his dishwasher. Imagine being introduced as a dishwasher, not with a name, but as the dishwasher. Because to them, women are of no value. In fact, the same influencer manages an OnlyFans agency. And he says that the things OnlyFans girls do disgust him and that he would hate for his daughter to do the same thing. And for me, there's an issue of morality here. So it's something that they do not agree with, but they are force-feeding young boys. Because for them, it's all about profit. He even says it. He's happy to profit from it, but he doesn't agree with it. However, they market it to these young boys. So sad. They see women as objects and they push these narratives into the mind of these young men. And this isn't just an ideology. The sad part of it is that it's in real life. Men are actually thinking about this. Their followers are thinking about this. Take a look at this video I saw during the week.
My husband just told me he had a stupid ass realization. He said that having his daughter made him realize that girls are more than objects.
Can you see that? There are men who think like this. That is scary. And this is why we can't just ignore these conversations, because they're filtering through into the minds of men, young men, who later on go on to have families. Here's another video that I saw of a man who refuses to help his wife at home with household chores because he sees household chores and taking care of the baby as a woman's job. And his job is just to sit back and relax and watch TV because that's a sign of dominance. Take a look. Wait, did you know that over 95% of you watching this right now are not subscribed? And only a small percentage are actually supporting this channel. And I'm not going to lie to you, as a small creator, that matters a lot. Because behind every video is several hours of research, editing, and breaking things down so that you don't have to. And sometimes the algorithm decides, yeah, we're not pushing that one. For example, take this video right here. Barely any views. Not because the content isn't valuable, but because it just didn't get pushed. So, if you're watching this and you're enjoying it, this is me genuinely asking you to please subscribe. Don't just subscribe. Please turn on the notification bell. Because by doing that and by watching it, it sends a strong signal to the algorithm to push the video out so that other people can see it. And when you hit the notification bell, it also notifies you every single time we drop a video. Because even when you subscribe, there is no guarantee that YouTube will show you the content. I really appreciate every single one of you. All right, let's get back into this. These are the type of men that the manosphere breeds. And ladies, it's important to not marry these men or date these men, let alone having children with them. They're not going to help you. I'm pleased to inform you that this lady is out of this arrangement and they're well on their way to file for a divorce. As I mentioned earlier, they do not believe that women can add any value. In actual fact, in one of the scenes, one of the influencers said to Louis, "Men invent, build and maintain society." To which Louis responds, "Don't women do that too?" And he says, "Look around you. Can you name anything a woman has built in plain sight?" He said, "Men built it all." And Louis said, "And do we definitely know that?" He responds, "It's a fact." I mean, I don't know what's wrong with these men or what women have done to them in the past, but these ideologies are wild. And I love what people did on TikTok. So many people stitched up this part of the documentary and they went on to attach so many things that women have done. And I'll have some of them running up on the screen as I continue. Another ideology they pushed was one-way monogamy. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These men believed that it was okay for their partners to be faithful to them whilst they had several sexual partners. According to one of them, women don't want to sleep with other men when they love a man, but it's okay for them to do it. I mean, I've never heard such nonsense in my life. According to Justin, one of the influencers, he says men and women are not equal and that women actually want men who will save the day. In his relationship, he goes on to say that they have traditional roles. His wife changes the diapers, she does the cooking and the cleaning. He doesn't do any of that stuff. His role is to make money. What surprised me was his wife's response when asked about the one-way monogamy. And her response shocked me. Most women would like to know that their man is wanted by other women. And I thought, huh? And so that makes one-way monogamy okay. And she's okay with him going out there, meeting other women, bringing them into their marriage. And she says she would rather that than for him to tell her lies. I just can't believe these ideologies exist. Another thing that surprised me was that this particular couple, they were not married in the eyes of the state. And so what this means is that if anything was to happen, this woman will be at a major loss financially because she's left her job. She was an X-ray technician and she's now a full-time mom with a man that believes in one-way monogamy. A man that can leave her at any time. A man who's fully in control of the finances. Meaning if they were to get divorced tomorrow, she won't get anything because everything is in his name. He's in control of the finances. And at one point during the documentary, he actually says to Louis, if all this was to end tomorrow, and she says, oh what? He says, this, us. And you can see it in her face that she was unhappy. She didn't like the thought that they could end tomorrow. And he said, if all this was to end tomorrow, I'll be glad. At least I've had 2 kids that's come out of this and I've had good time. He never once mentioned anything about her. It was just the fact that, yeah, he's had 2 kids that's come out of it. So the children will get childcare maintenance. However, she's at a loss. There'll be nothing to show for her time that she spent being a mother, carrying those children, tending to those children. And I tell you, you can't put a price on nurturing children. And she's left her job. She was a full-time X-ray technician. No income, just relying on one man who's basically controlling your life. I'm still going to talk about the women in this documentary, but at this point, I just want to say that women, we need to educate ourselves on the legal aspects of marriage. There's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom. There's nothing wrong with being a full-time mom. However, you have to make sure that you're also making something for yourself one way or another, or that you're securing yourself. One way would have been through marriage and making sure that your name are in those documents, be it property documents. It's important because if it's all in his name, he gets to take it all. But I'll come back to these women later. Another one of the influencers had very extreme views about women as well. He doesn't believe women should vote. He doesn't believe women should be in law enforcement or be in military. Like, this way of thinking, it's so outdated. But yet, there seems to be a resurgence of it on the internet. It's crazy. It's actually insane that people are thinking like this and trying to bring all this back. He also boasts about his one-way monogamous relationship with his girlfriend. He says to his followers that she packs his condom when he travels. In one of his videos, I mean, the way he spoke about women is totally and utterly disgusting. Due to copyright issues, I can't play it for you, but I will just read what he said. He says, "Bitch, we ain't equal. I'm the dictator. You are the subordinate." Look at the language being used to describe women. Subordinate. "I dictate when I want to put dick in you, bitch." Dictate. So it's all about dictatorship. It's all about control. Subordinate. Belittling women. He says, "And then you dictate when the sandwiches come by my dictation." So everything has to be on their terms. Imagine being with a man like this that just wants to control the narrative, control your life. He says, that's how this goes. So for them, their word is final. What they say goes. And then it says, "And women love guys like this that tell them what it is." I don't know what women he's talking about that like this. Certainly not me. It says, "This isn't open to interpretation or how you feel or what you think." They don't believe women should have a voice. I mean, that's why he said women shouldn't vote. They don't believe women should be able to express themselves. When I was preparing for this, I was thinking to myself, how did we get back to this point again? And I think maybe it's because we're now in a world where women are achieving. Women are doing a lot for themselves. And somehow these men feel intimidated that women can actually do so much and they feel threatened. Because why you would think like this is just beyond me. To say that it's not open to interpretation or how you feel or what you think. So it's just for them to tell a woman, do this. And they just go, go, go. He finishes it by saying, it doesn't matter what you effing think. Louis asked him about the statement he made that I dictate when I put my D in. And at this point, you can see him shrink with embarrassment. And he downplays what he means. He says, obviously, I don't mean putting my D in when she's on her period. And I thought to myself, is that the only time a female would not want to have intercourse with a man? Is that the only time because they're on their period? So anytime outside of that, you could just go in and out as you please without a respect for the woman's voice and what she wants. He proceeds to say, I need guys to have the mindset that they are the leader, they are assertive, dominant, the dictator of the relationship. They're the dictator of the relationship and what they say goes. He goes on to say that he loves women and he actually understands women, and since he understands them, he knows what's best for them. When Louis asks him if he knows better than we do, he says yes, in many ways. That's how women want it. They want a guy that can lead them and that can dominate them. At this point, I thought to myself, how can you, a man, know what's best for a woman? Even me, that's a woman, I don't know what's best for another woman. Because the truth is, we're all wired differently. Let's take pregnancies, for example. If you put 10 women in one room and you ask them to narrate their pregnancy experience, I can guarantee you that all of them will have different stories. That's because our bodies are wired differently. There's just so much more to a woman than her bits and her bubs. There's so much more. There's so much happening internally that makes us different to one another. And for a man to stand there and say that he knows what's best for us is just insane. Even our periods, they differ from one another. There are women who would have no pain. There are women who will be unable to work. We go through things differently, but he thinks he knows us even better than we know ourselves. And what's worrying about this is that that video that I've just narrated to you, he streamed that to young boys, telling young boys that they are the dictator. They can dictate when they put their D in, what they say goes. And then you wonder why some men go into relationships and we're seeing behaviors like this being displayed. It's because of narratives like this, dangerous narratives like this, being pushed out on the internet. Anyways, whilst Louis was interviewing this particular influencer, his girlfriend walks in. And I like what Louis does. He beckons on her to come and join them. And he asks her about how she felt about Myron having other women in his lives and potentially getting married and having more than one wife. And you can see in her face that she was uncomfortable with the conversation and she did not like the idea that he could potentially marry another wife. This whole situation was just weird to watch. And Myron himself, he actually looked really weak and you could see that he was uncomfortable. And as a result, he sends his girlfriend off to tidy the room as a way to get rid of her because that wasn't going according to plan, according to his narrative that he's the dictator. Myron wanted us to believe that he was in control and he was dominant in this relationship and he had control of Angie, his girlfriend. So I was pleasantly surprised. While scrolling through TikTok, I stumbled into Angie's video and here's what she had to say.
Hello, that's me. This is Angie. I'm finally coming out of my shell of social media. I probably will be posting more on TikTok. I just want to leave this behind, and this is one of the main reasons why I'm doing this. I want to leave the past in the past. But this documentary just came out and I received a lot of messages from people just concerned about my well-being and a lot of opinions and a lot of things going on right now. So I want to address a few things. First of all, I never wanted to be part of any documentary whatsoever. I was never told or asked to be in a documentary until the moment of. I was stupid enough to not read a contract before signing it, and that's how I ended in that documentary. So I did beg the producers on email thousands of times to take me out of the documentary, but that didn't happen. And here we are. It is what it is. Never wanted to be part of it. Anyways, I already been through a lot. I already went through therapy. I already heard the zillion pep talks that my friends and family had to say. And I know everybody has an opinion. I know everybody has something to say. But this is my life. And honestly, as of right now, I couldn't be more grateful for it. I am so blessed, and I am so thankful to say that I am in a new relationship where I don't have to worry about any of this, and that I met this amazing man who cares for me, who makes me feel so special, makes me so happy, and I couldn't be more grateful for him. I can finally say that I can see a future with somebody, and I'm so grateful that he can see a future with me. So also, before you go there, it's no any rollerblading guy or anything like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I never cheated on anybody. That doesn't really align with my values. I know you have loved me too, but that never happened. I don't want the past to get into this. So right now, I'm so happy. And honestly, I'm so thankful for all the experiences that I lived, every lesson that I learned, and everything that I've been through, because without any of it, I wouldn't be the person that I am right now. Thanks to every one of you that critique me, that has said something about it, because I do go through every comment, I do go through every DM and every video and every post, and I can't say it doesn't affect me. It does affect me, but at the end of the day, I believe in who I am and who my parents raised, and honestly, I'm so thankful for every lesson. So thank you for everything. So it is what it is. This will probably won't be the last of me, because I probably will be posting more videos on my TikTok, but I just want to leave that behind. Thank you.
So guys, I'm happy that Angie managed to get out of that toxic relationship. And just something I wanted to touch upon, she said that she was stupid enough not to read the contract before signing it. And this goes back to the point I was making earlier with the other influencers' wife, even though they're not married in the eyes of the state, about us women really reading up on laws. For example, the contract, reading up on contracts before you sign it, understanding what you're entitled to in case there's some sort of divorce or you go your own separate ways. It's important. That way you put yourself in a good position. It's important to protect yourself. And one thing I found about these girls is that a lot of them, they like the idea of wealth. They like the idea of a man taking care of them. They like the luxury life. There's nothing wrong with the luxury life, but if you're not protected in a situation where something goes wrong, then you'll be at a loss. It's dangerous. Money is not everything. And I felt like these girls were naive and they didn't know their worth for them to allow men like this to control them. It's truly sad, but I'm happy that Angie managed to get out of it. The shocking truth is there'll probably be more women like Angie who unfortunately might not be able to get out of it. But I hope they find someone to talk to and get the help they need to stay away from men like these. One thing that stood out for me with these influencers is that most of them came from broken homes. Homes where the fathers were not present, and so they were raised by their mums. And to me, this just goes to show the importance of having both parents at home, the importance of them having a father figure in the home. In actual fact, one of their fans said something. He said that the Manosphere inspires young men who maybe do not have a male figure in the home. And I think it just goes to show that what kids see growing up in the home, it can really have an impact on the ideas, the ideologies they live by. Some of these influencers grew up in a home where there was violence, there was abuse, and so to them, the only way to treat a woman is to be aggressive towards her, is to dominate her, because that's all some of them have seen. But it's important for me to say that not every child from a single parent household will end up like this. Absolutely not. Because I know single moms who have done the work of both parents and they have nurtured and brought up matured, emotionally intelligent men. It's important for me to say that. However, it just goes to show you that People can go through a situation like that and choose what direction in which they go. Someone can grow up in such an environment and decide, okay, I've been through that. I don't want to be that man. And they can work on being a better version of themselves. They can work on their mental health. They can work on their mind and not just on the physical, acting really hard and strong on the outside. Or they can go the other way, which is these influences, these men that we see in the manosphere. And to me, it's also not just a single household where it's just a mum doing the work. I also believe a household where even both parents are present, but yet the children are not feeling the presence of the father or the mother. And so they go to the internet for answers. They go to these young men for answers. And what they get out there is not good at all. As a parent, as a mom to boys, this documentary was very eye-opening, because what shocked me was the number of fans these influencers had. I mean, everywhere they went, young boys stopped them to take pictures with them, to praise them, how the message that they've been passing has changed their lives. I was like, what? One kid describes him as one of his greatest role models. Him, Andrew Tate, and his brother Tristan. There was a clip that I saw of young boys running up to them and saying, F all the women, young boy. I mean, some of these boys are as young as 13. These influencers have huge following. In actual fact, one of them, I believe Sneeko, he had been banned from all social media platforms because of the hate speech. He was restored on one of them, I believe YouTube, and I think in less than a day he had millions of followers. So imagine young children listening to that. After watching the documentary, I thought to myself, what step am I going to actively take in order to ensure that my sons do not end up like that, and that my daughters do not end up like that? And the first thing I thought to myself is to have a home filled with love, where my kids can see that mommy and daddy truly love each other. There's genuine love. I saw this clip on Instagram and I felt like it really depicts the examples that should be shown in homes. Take a look.
I'm gonna wait for Daddy to do the other chair because you're squeezing all the way in.
Sorry, baby. You can
No, you can go.
I'm about to finish this one, baby. I'll be done very soon, so you can chat here.
You can have this one.
No, babe, you sit.
You can have
No, you were sitting there first. You're good.
this. No, you're good.
You take it, mommy. How it should always be. Good job, Nashi.
Thank you, baby.
That's good.
Yeah.
Love you.
There you go. Can you see this one on a little better?
You can see the way that little boy is acting. He's able to do that because he's watched his father lead by example. And you can see his dad said something that, let mommy take the seat. That's how it should always be. So training him, positive reinforcement in the lives of our children, because what these children see in the home will shape their minds. And if it's negative, they could end up like these guys in the manosphere. Another step we will take in our home is to stay away from using language that's very sexist. There'll be no gender roles. Everyone will participate. The kitchen is not just for girls. Boys can also get involved. I'm a strong believer that if you can eat that food, you can cook that food. We will sit our kids down and have these conversations. I'm so glad that I'm aware that this world exists. And so I will prepare my children's minds. I will get ahead of these ideologies and cancel them from the minds of my children. I will ask them, what do you think about it? And if there's anything that's not in line, we will make sure that we'll straighten it up. I will teach my boys how to treat a woman. They will see their father doing it, but I will reinforce it in their minds, since we now have people out there on the internet who think they can tell young boys that they are the dictator. Because my boys will see that daddy doesn't dictate to mommy. Mommy and daddy, they work together hand in hand. And that is how you nurture a true, healthy relationship. I will teach my daughters not to run after things that are flashy. Not everything that glitters is gold. I will teach my daughters to work hard for their money. I will teach my daughters that a real man is not just a man that looks strong on the outside and a man that flashes his cash and a man that has multiple women. That is not a real man. I will teach them to have high expectations and to not settle and to not be moved by money or luxurious life. And ultimately, the most important thing to us is Christ, a Christ-centered home. Because Christ made us all equal. Men and men, we are equal. He didn't create one to dominate over the other. But Christ wants us to love one another. And where there's love, there is no control. Anyways, guys, my must-see content of this week, I feel like after that heavy stuff, we definitely need something to laugh about. As a result, I'll be showing two must-see content. The first one is this video I saw last night. Take a look.
Yeah. You know what? Hell yeah.
So a teacher posted one of her students' answers to one of the questions in the exam. It says, name one way you could help reduce pollution in your community. To which the student says, one way to stop pollution is to start riding DICK. And the teacher changed it to bikes. I don't know, I found that hilarious. She's clearly made a spelling mistakes. When one of my friends was a teacher, she would always tell me about some of the answers these students will write, and they were just funny. But what was even funnier was the comment section. Let's take one or two comments. The first one says, I just know her teacher took a picture of this and still laughs every day. And the mum wrote, her teacher made me send her this TikTok today. Says, reduce pollution and increase population, right? Another person says, save the planet one ride at a time. Oh my goodness. Someone says, me after trying to reduce some pollution. Someone says, me after doing my part to stopping pollution. Next one says, pollution hates to see me coming. Another one says, I wasn't gonna text him, but I gotta reduce pollution or whatever. And someone says, judging by the comments, pollution will end by tonight. I just thought it was hilarious. And the second one that I saw not long after this one is this video. Take a look.
Oh my God.
One comment that stood out to me was Mac lawsuit. Anyways, guys, finally, as we head into the Easter weekend, I just want to take this moment to wish you a beautiful and peaceful time with the family. I really hope you remember the reason for the season, which is Jesus Christ. And my prayer for everyone watching this is that whatever you're believing God for, whatever you're trusting God for, I pray that in this season that you will encounter the resurrection power. I pray that doors will be open for you. I pray that you will have breakthroughs. Things will turn around for your good and you will be restored in Jesus' name. Amen. If you've enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, do not forget to comment, and do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss my next video. Till next time, guys, stay blessed. Bye.